Ladies and gentlemen, we live in crazy times right now. After the whole Microsoft FTC drama went down, I didn't think leaks could get any crazier than that. But today, PlayStation has suffered the worst gaming leak in history, with over 1 terabyte of data and information being posted online, specifically on Twitter. And it was aimed at Insomniac Games. The leaks are just all over the place right now, but we have a full schedule of games coming from Insomniac, gameplay of Wolverine, and even some story elements, spoiled for some. Now, I won't be posting or talking about any of the story or gameplay leaks for Wolverine. I just think that is a terrible thing that is leaked, and I honestly feel bad for the developers who are working on the game. But I will be talking about the upcoming slate of games that they have leaked, and I also will be talking about PlayStation's statement about Microsoft internally. Spoiler alert, they're pretty fearful of Game Pass. I also want to say hearts out to all the developers that were affected, because some developers actually had their personal information leaked, like passports and stuff like that, which is really horrible to see. So hearts out to all the developers at Insomniac Games. Hopefully everybody's doing okay and can pull everything back together. But since the information is out there, I think I'm going to cover at least the clean parts of it and make a comprehensive video about it. So let's start with the roadmap for Insomniac Games. As you all know, Spider-Man 2 is out in the wild, and the very next piece of DLC or new game is called Venom. Now this comes as no surprise, as people figured Venom would be the big DLC for the game, but we now know the DLC for Spider-Man 2 is coming out in 2025. Now I should note that the leak says Venom game, so it could end up being its own standalone game, but it's said to be built on the back of Spider-Man 2 for the PS5 Pro that's coming out in 2024. We also know that they are officially the Marvel Studios. They are confirmed to be making Spider-Man 3, which is teased already, and they're also making an X-Men game and of course Wolverine. So here's a comprehensive timeline of everything that's coming out for Insomniac Games. Coming in 2025, we have the new Venom game, which could be DLC or a standalone game. In 2026, we have Wolverine that's coming out. In 2028, which could be sometime around the PS6, we have Spider-Man 3. We also have a potential launch game with Ratchet & Clank coming right after Spider-Man 3, and that's near 2029. So one of those games could end up being a launch title if it was moved up. And coming in 2030, that is when we get the X-Men game. Again, all of these leaks are from their internal documents, so they are legit, but there could be delays. I mean, this is the gaming industry after all. Now, there's also some very interesting information too, because we did get a brand new IP that has no name yet from Insomniac Games that is scheduled for 2031-2032, which is really insane to say out loud. I mean, the year 2031, that is just, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. Anyways, the last little bit of information we have here is about Wolverine, but again, it is not spoiler and it is not story or gameplay related. It's actually related to where the game's going to be releasing. Believe it or not, this actually could release day and date on PC. Yes, you heard me correctly. They already have a working build of Wolverine on PC out internally. And they have it in the document that the game is supposed to release on PlayStation and PC, so it's definitely coming to PC, but unless I'm mistaken, it would seem that PlayStation is finally going to do what Xbox did years ago, which is PC day and date. So smile, my fellow PC gamers, we win. We also got details of the exclusivity with Marvel and Sony, but stick with me because it gets a little weird. Okay, so obviously we know Wolverine is going to be exclusive to the PlayStation, but we just learned that it's going to be exclusive to the PlayStation until the year 2035. In fact, all of the X-Men characters are the same. Marvel has a stipulation in this current deal with Sony saying that if Wolverine doesn't sell at least 6 million copies in its first year, they can terminate the deal. Sony was also extended the same privilege. But if Sony were to terminate the deal because of the 6 million copy performance, and lack thereof I should say, they would have to pay a whopping $9 million in termination fees. So it's safe to say Sony is definitely not going to cancel this deal. If it does get canceled because it doesn't hit the sales marks, it would be from Marvel. We also know that if somehow it doesn't sell 6 million copies in the first year, we also know that if it somehow doesn't sell 6 million copies and Wolverine underperforms, they would also lose their exclusivity to X-Men and every other Marvel licensed character that they have. Or in other words, they would literally never do another deal with PlayStation again for any Marvel character, which is a crazy stipulation, but it is in these leaked documents. But let's be real, Wolverine's definitely going to sell 6 million copies in its first year. I mean, that's just how it goes. People love Wolverine and people love Marvel. Anyways, that is all of it for the major leaks coming out of Insomniac Games. Again, I do feel bad about the leaks, but since it's out there, there's no stopping the coverage, so I figured I'd at least give you a clean version of it without anything incredibly bad. But now we shift to PlayStation themselves, and boy, I gotta be honest with you, I'm shocked. So PlayStation sent some internal memos and presentations around, and they're mostly talking about Microsoft and Xbox. And despite many PlayStation fans saying otherwise, PlayStation is indeed concerned about Game Pass. They even go as far as to call their own model of releasing games outdated compared to the Xbox way of releasing games. And they also mention how Game Pass day and date games have put a lot of pressure on them. They mentioned that the Activision Blizzard deal really has them concerned as well, because nothing is stopping Microsoft from adding these games into Game Pass day and date like the new Call of Duty, which makes sense. I mean, let's be real, why would Microsoft not do that? They also mentioned how they are worried about people switching from the PlayStation to the Xbox. And it's also interesting because they have something in this document that says the threat date for Call of Duty is 2027. Now, what does this mean? Allow me to explain. So we heard a rumor from Jeff Grubb earlier this week that Xbox could start the next generation early in 2026. This is what they did during the 360 era as well to get a head start. So if that is the case and they start the generation in 2026, well, it would make a lot of sense to put Call of Duty 2026 and 7 into Game Pass day and date. This could have a massive effect on Xbox's console sales, which haven't been doing too well. Think about it. If Xbox has a day and date Game Pass game like Call of Duty with the next generation console to go with it a year ahead of Sony's console, well, people would switch and buy an Xbox, because not only does it have the entire next gen market to itself, but it also has the biggest game in gaming on Game Pass at no extra cost. And I hate to say this because honestly I can't believe it's true, but Sony is talking about raising the prices for their exclusive games again to $80, which is ridiculous. $70 is ridiculous, and I don't even pay $70 for their games, or any games for that matter. So if it really does come to $80 for a game like Call of Duty or a game like Wolverine, well, people are gonna have way more incentive to switch to Xbox and save money with Game Pass. So I gotta be honest with you, Phil Spencer, all the heat he's taken for Game Pass, this actually may turn out to be the best thing ever. Not that it already wasn't the best deal in gaming, because obviously Game Pass is the best deal in gaming, but still, it is safe to say PlayStation's concerns are warranted, because if they do release the new Xbox in 2026, PlayStation is going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now, there are some other things in this document as well that we got: the amount of money that Marvel makes and the deal with PlayStation, forecasts of Game Pass and how valuable it's become, which, spoiler alert, Game Pass is probably the most ingenious idea Xbox has ever had, so kudos to Phil Spencer. However, the big parts of the leaks are the slate of games that I talked about, and then of course PlayStation being very worried about the future of Game Pass. So that is basically it. What do you guys think about the exciting games that are coming out for Insomniac in the future? And tell me, should PlayStation be concerned about Game Pass and Xbox in the next generation? Let me know in the comment section down below. Once again, hearts out to all the developers at Insomniac Games. It is really unfortunate that this happened, and I hope that my video is at least a clean way of discussing the leaked information that was going to be discussed anyway. But thank you all for tuning into this video. Hope to see you in the next one, but until then, peace and Merry Christmas.